South Australia still dealing with the Parafield COVID cluster there, and the Premier, Stephen Marshall, joins me now. Premier, thanks for your time this morning. Very impressive numbers of testing. Very impressive numbers of testing, 77,000 people getting tested. What challenges remain for you ahead of this cluster in the next couple of days?
Look, you're 100% right. I think Friday was a record in Australia in terms of the number of tests per capita in the country since COVID raised its ugly head. So very proud of every South Australian who are playing their part on top, getting on top of the Parafield cluster. We're not out of the woods yet. We have about 4,500 people who are in quarantine. We know that this was a highly contagious infection, and so we wanted to get onto it very early so that we could release the rest of the population in South Australia. We've got modified restrictions in South Australia right through to December 1st, when we hope to go back to where we were a week ago, Paul.
Have you spoken to all the people, all the contacts, or are there still some outstanding?
No, the contact tracing team in South Australia has done an outstanding job, and I've got to also acknowledge that we were very much helped in this by the Commonwealth, by contact tracers in New South Wales, Victoria, and particularly Western Australia. So this has been a very big operation in our state to stay in front of this cluster.
But we were hearing
a huge number of people were put into quarantine.
Yeah, Premier, we were hearing earlier that there's still people outstanding that the contact tracers need to get in contact with. Is that the case?
No, that's not my understanding.
Okay.
Certainly when Nicola Spurrier went to the press conference yesterday, she was clear that they had a huge number of people in there and they'd done all that contact tracing that they needed.
Great. Just want to ask you about the lockdown now. Faced with a similar situation, would you go into lockdown, or would you back your contact tracing team to verify the information and give them slightly longer to do so?
Look, you don't get a second chance to stop a second wave, and the advice that we received from Health was unequivocal. We had to go hard and go early. We didn't want a second wave. We didn't want to have this seeded in South Australia so that we were managing multiple clusters on an ongoing basis until this particular infection actually, if you like, died out. The reality is that South Australia's enjoyed very low level restrictions. We've got 1 per 2 square metres in our density for hospitality and other businesses, which really makes them far more viable than many other parts of the country. You would be aware that in New South Wales, the ACT, Queensland, it's 1 per 4 square metres. So we really wanted to do everything we could to maintain that density, because we know it helps business, we know it helps people getting back to work.
Did the man who lied to the contact tracers break any laws that you're aware of?
We're still looking at that, so there's an investigation underway at the moment, Paul. We want to get to the bottom of this. We think the people of South Australia deserve some answers on this, and we'll look at every opportunity for there to be some consequences for this person, because it's really important that when a public health official asks you questions, you provide them with accurate information. Otherwise, lives can be at stake.
What were his motivations? Was there any problem with his employment not being lawful at the pizza joint?
Look, there's been a lot of speculation on that. I don't want to add to that speculation because there is an investigation underway at the moment.
What changes are you making to hotel quarantine procedures?
We already moved very quickly. So on Monday last week, we were the first jurisdiction in the country to have a mandated 7-day test for all people that work in our Medi hotels. Other states have now followed that. We didn't have that in place anywhere in Australia before. For good reasons. The AHPPC had their position on this, but in this particular cluster, what we knew was it was fast moving, but also low or no symptoms. And so when we did test the workers at the Stanford Hotel, that's how we came up with the person that was of interest with regards to working at the Woodville Pizza Bar. Okay,
and just very quickly, if you can, are you reviewing the rules around workers being employed at multiple venues, multiple companies, or multiple places, I should say?
We've written off to the AHPPC. We think there needs to be a nationally consistent approach to this. Some people are suggesting this would reduce risks. Other people are quite sceptical. Let's get the advice from the health experts, and if we have to take any correction there, we'll do it immediately.
Premier, thanks for your time. Best wishes in the coming days.
Thanks, Paul.